What else is new?
Blue Valentine, which has had an awful lot of interest, which is a broken back story of the beginning and end of a relationship.
Can you just stop?
Yeah.
Chris Reynolds has just emailed to say, I'm ironing my clothes while watching your live feed, but we'll be seeing Blue Valentine at the Picture House at Greenwich at 6 o'clock. Please could you let me know when you're about to review it so I can turn down the sound?
We're about to review Blue Valentine now.
Thank you.
Broken back story of the beginning and end of a relationship starring Michelle Williams and Ryan Gosling. Both of them have been nominated for Golden Globes. Both of them are likely to turn up elsewhere in the awards. Directed by Derek Cianfrance, I think that's how he pronounced his name. Cianfrance, who apparently got... Cianfrance got funding after winning a screenwriting prize. And... the story is essentially told, you get the two time structures intermingled. So we begin to some extent with the end of the relationship falling apart, things very bitter, things very difficult. There's a sort of an air of catastrophe hanging over the proceedings. And that is then intercut with the beginnings of the relationship, in which we see the couple finding each other, the couple first discovering each other, first embarking upon their relationship, and a scene which has been talked about by almost everybody, involving them in a street late of a night, her in boots and him with a ukulele. Here's a clip.
You got any, talents?
Like hidden talents?
Can you dance? You can tap dance?
Can you?
No. Here, I'll play a song and you dance. Okay. I can't really sing. I have to sing goofy in order to sing. I have to sing stupid. Okay?
Okay.
Now, the interesting thing is that when that came on, right, whereas I sort of smiled broadly, you winced.
I was enjoying the ukulele
until he starts,
and then the vocal came on,
singing because he says
like Anthony and the Johnsons, but not.
The reason I think that scene has been referred to in so many places, that it is genuinely sweet and charming and quirky, but not in a... I said a little bit of quirky goes a very long way. You mentioned Zooey Deschanel earlier on. Mm-hmm. Nobody does quirk like the Deschanel Meister. But there is something really sort of, sweet and intimate and charming about those early scenes. Equally, intercut with these scenes of the couple falling apart, attempting to rekindle their relationship, particularly in a very, very protracted sequence in which they go off to a hotel, a seedy hotel as it's described, and there's this very long sequence in which it's very raw, it's very naked, both emotionally and physically, and there's this, as I said, this sense of catastrophic entropy hanging over the entire endeavour. And what the movie manages to do very well is to balance those elements. On the one hand, the couple finding each other, on the other hand, the couple losing each other, and without really having to boldly spell out exactly what it is that's happened, allow you to see within the tiny movements, the nods, the gestures, the unveiled comments, what it is that's happened to them in the intervening years. I mean, many people have compared it to 5x2, the Francois Ozon movie, which effectively shows the breakdown of a marriage in reverse, and there is definitely a structural connection to that. The things to say that are important is that on a performance level, it is very, very convincing. I mean, apparently the director got the two leads to spend time with each other, effectively put them in a house for 2 weeks and said, right, find out about each other's, quirks and foibles and to develop the sort of sense that they are genuinely having a relationship. And it is very much an actor's piece. I think to some extent it may be too much an actor's piece for some people, because there is a lot of, albeit very naturalistic, there is a lot of emoting going on. It is a film about facial reactions, a film about physical movement, a film about gestures, a film about, smiles and frowns. It is a film in which you are centrally watching the performers themselves, even more than you're actually sort of watching the filmmaking techniques. Also, there was a fuss in America that the MPAA, the ratings board, initially wanted to give it an NC-17 certificate, and the distributor...
Is that the highest?
Well, yes. I mean, the problem they have in America is that they don't really have a proper adult certificate. I mean, an R-rated movie, anyone can go and see see an R-rated movie, as long as you go with a parent. And NC-17 means no children under 17, and yet in America that is considered to be box office poison. In America, the certificate was downgraded down to an R. Over here, the film is 15, and again, the BBFC certificate is very particular about why it's a 15. It does say that it's given 15 for strong sex and strong language, and in their description, the BBFC say each scene is strong and approaches the upper limits of what is permitted at 15. However, nudity is limited, and the scenes are otherwise sufficiently lacking in detail to be allowed at that category. But what's important is that I think, firstly, that the MPAA kind of dropped it in terms of the movie. They misread it, and I do think that our censors are much better at understanding how to classify that kind of material. For all Stephen Woolley's problems that he had in the past with the End of the Affair, I actually think that now they are much more on the ball about understanding how to classify material which is intimate. But I think that the reason the MPAA reacted the way they did was partly because the scenes are as emotionally intimate as they are. It is a draining film to watch. It is a film in which you feel that in the course of watching it, you have really experienced this couple going through this very sort of extenuated, problematic relationship, and you feel like you've spent a lot of time with them and a lot of time within their suffering. I mean, at its kind of most expressionist, it sort of borders on this, a film about existential despair, but it is below that a very honest film about a troubled relationship, which is still generous-hearted enough to see the birth of that relationship in ways which are sweet and charming and enchanting, and come down to somebody playing a ukulele and singing in that way, which still made me smile despite the fact that I've seen the film and understand all the traumas that are involved with it. As I said, it is in the end an actor's piece predominantly, and it's not hard to see why they've been nominated. It's very, very the emotions are very raw. I think sometimes they are slightly too overwrought, and a little bit more discipline structurally wouldn't have hurt. There are some sequences that actually I think could have come down in terms of length, but that's a minor quibble because it is performed as well as it is.